Welcome back to Kawartha Backyard Farms, all you gorgeous garden gnomes. In today's video, I'm going to review 3 handheld cultivators from Ryobi. Now, Ryobi, you may be thinking about power tools such as drills and impact guns or saws, but did you know that Ryobi also offers a lineup of garden and yard power tools as well? So here are the 3 handheld cultivators that I'm going to review in this video. They are the 10-inch attachment for the weed whipper or string trimmer expanded power head. And then we have the 8-inch Ryobi cultivator. And we have the smaller single-handed maybe use cultivator. So up first we have the largest version of their handheld cultivators. This is the expanded power head up here. I decided to swap out the battery from the 5 amp hour battery to this 4 amp hour edge battery. The other one, the battery was dead. So we've got a fresh battery in here. As I said, this is a standalone handle or a separate handle that I purchased. Doesn't come with the tool or the attachment. The cultivating head is 10 inches across, and then you have these wheels on the back for transporting the piece of equipment so you're not carrying it all over the place. And to get that out of the way and into cultivating mode, you just pull, there's a little spring in there, pull the wheels and then pull them up. Now, because of it using the attachment capable power head here, there is a safety switch and then a variable speed trigger. So you can go as fast or as slow kind of as you would like. So we're going to till up this first bed here. We had broccoli growing in there and we finished our broccoli season. We're going to work up the soil. We're going to see how this will do kind of tilling up some of the roots and stems of those broccoli plants. Okay, so that took about, what, 7 minutes or so for me. It's probably a lot quicker for you guys. Here's the aftermath. A little bit of raking is going to be needed to smooth out this bed, but all in all, it ripped up the leftover stems and some of the roots, and that's just about ready for a new planting of another crop. So next up we have kind of the medium size cultivator. This one is 8 inches across at the tines. So a little bit smaller, could be used for weeding in between your rows of your crops. By the way, these tools here are, and this video is not sponsored. I purchased these tools with my own money to give you guys an honest review and to use them in the backyard farm. So this has 2 speed settings. You can go slower or faster. There is no variable speed trigger on this one like the expanded attachment. That you have your safety and then your trigger is on the handle. So this section I just harvested all the garlic out of. So we still have the straw down and we have a lot of weeds that popped up. But we'll see how this one does working through this type of soil. So it did kind of get bound up with some weeds. It didn't stop the motor, but it's just not the most efficient tilling right now. It's not too bad to clear the weeds out of it. So you could use this kind of with one hand. It would bounce around a little bit, but it doesn't bounce around as much as the more powerful 10-inch one. So again, it does get kind of bound up with heavy weeds. So manage your expectations with these tools as well. They're not going to be for starting a brand new garden. They're not going to be for tilling deep and breaking up really heavily compacted soil. And mostly I've purchased this, or all of these, for weed management. So in the context of weed management, you would be using these long before any of these weeds got this big. You'll be using them to kind of till in those little seedlings that you don't want coming up, and tilling around your main crops. So I think to get the rest of these weeds off, I am going to have to take off these tines, which is pretty easy. All you have to do is pull this hitch clip out, and then these tines just come right off. And then we can pull that bundle of weeds off of the axle and just pop the tines right back on.
Alright, voiceover time, because I forgot to turn that little microphone on. So this is the third and final cultivator that I'll be reviewing. It is their handheld Two-tine cultivator. It has the safety switch on both sides, so you can use it right or left-handed, or use whatever digit you would like to turn the safety off with. And then it also has this little dial here to adjust the speed, because it doesn't have a variable speed trigger. Now ideally I would not be using this in the ground. I would use this cultivator for raised beds or planters that are larger, just because trying to do an in-ground bed would take forever with this one. But for demonstration purposes, this was accessible. And now, as you can see here, the tines on this one actually cross over at the front. So it does a really good job of breaking up the soil into smaller pieces than some of the larger cultivators do. Also, because of the way that the tines are crossed over, and they are more straight tines rather than tines that have a hook to them, they don't really get rocks stuck into them or have weeds stuck on them either.
All right, so now for the most important part of any review video is the final review and whether or not these tools are worth it. So first up is the larger 10-inch cultivator that is part of the Expand It line from Ryobi. Runs off of their 40-volt lineup of batteries, and I think does a really great job. So the ability to change out that power head and use it with a string trimmer or a brush cutter or hedge trimmer or many of the other lines of tools that Ryobi has in its Expand It lineup is really great, and I think makes the cost of the cultivator and the power head a worthwhile investment if you're going to be growing produce at home. Now, being a little bit more powerful and a little bit lighter on the front end, it does tend to bounce around if you hit a rock or a tree root or some really hard compacted soil. So having both hands on that tool is important. If you can, invest in an aftermarket kind of handle for it so that you have a little bit more control and you can stay upright a little bit better. I found the handles that come with the string trimmers and the tiller, they are pretty short, so you're still almost bending over if you're using them with the cultivator. So getting an extended handle to attach to this tool is probably a good idea. Now, for depth of tilling, it is about 2 inches deep into the soil, and with a higher power battery, it has the power to kind of bust up some pretty compacted soil and get it nice and turned over for you. The second one is the 8-inch cultivator that runs off of the 18-volt lineup from Ryobi. Overall, I would say if you're in the market for some sort of weeding, cultivating tool and you're thinking about going through the powered option or the battery operated option, definitely invest in this tool. It is here in Canada, I think we paid $220 for it, and it does a really good job. It will only till that first 1.5 inches or so of soil, but keeping in mind that you're not going to be starting a brand new garden with any of these tools, I think it does a pretty good job. The application that you would want to use this in is in managing your weeds. So you're not going to let your weeds kind of build up really tall, or if you do, cut them down before you try to cultivate with the 8-inch cultivator. The other option that you have with both the 8-inch 18-volt cultivator and the 10-inch 40-volt cultivator is to adjust the tines. So if you have more rocky soil and the rocks are getting jammed up in those tines and in between the safety protector plate, then you can take off one tine on either side. So you're just running one tine on either side, and that will help to kind of throw the rocks out of the cultivator and not get them jammed up. And that could also be useful if you are tilling tighter areas in between crops. One thing that's very nice on the larger 10-inch cultivator is that it has that variable speed trigger. So there isn't a dial to set the speed. You can kind of control it based off of how hard you squeeze on the trigger. Whereas with the other two smaller options, you have a dial or a switch. I wish that the 8-inch cultivator came with that variable speed trigger as opposed to just a high and a low speed. I think it definitely has the power to be a really good tool, and if it had that variable speed trigger, then that would just set it up to the next level. Then finally there is the smallest, the Two-tine cultivator, definitely meant for weeding in raised beds like this one that I'm sitting on, although we don't really have any weeds going on right now. So you wouldn't be using this in kind of in-ground beds, and definitely not in a market garden setting. I would not want to use that in there. But because it only has 2 tines that overlap, and those tines are pointed, it does do a really good job of getting down into the soil and breaking up some hard compaction. And then again, it's not going to get jammed up with any rocks because those tines are angled towards each other. So if there's a rock that it catches, it's just going to fling it out to the side. The other thing that I like about the 18-volt cultivators is that you could actually use them with one hand. They're light enough, and since you're not trying to till too deeply into the soil, you don't have to put so much weight on it. They do a great job if you have to use one hand. Okay, so really quick to wrap up before my camera overheats again and decides to shut off. Should you buy any of these tools? Well, I think that depends on what you are doing. If you are already thinking about buying a cultivator of some sort and you are in the Ryobi lineup for their batteries, I think any one of these tools is a great option to improve your gardening experience. If you are just doing raised garden beds, all you would really make use of is the small Two-tine handheld cultivator. I think that is a great option and would speed up your weeding processes and again make gardening more enjoyable. Then if you are doing a little bit more intense in-ground growing and you are looking for a tool to improve your weed management, the 8-inch 18-volt cultivator would be a good investment. However, I do think that it is slightly overpriced. And again, if it had that variable speed trigger and if it came with a battery, currently it is a bare tool. So unfortunately at $220, I think that is a little bit overpriced for what it will do. Now, if you are doing larger scale gardening, growing to produce a lot of food for yourself or your family or for your community, and if you are already in Ryobi's 40-volt lineup, you have that power head that can accept the expanded lineup of tools, definitely the 10-inch cultivator is a must buy. Since you can remove 2 tines from each of the cultivators, you can make it so that you can weed out tighter areas, or you can go the full width and do in between rows or weed out the pathways of your garden or your market farm if that's what you're doing. So yes, if you're doing raised beds, get the smaller handheld Two-tine cultivator. I think that the 8-inch one is a little bit overpriced right now. They maybe wait for another generation of tool for that. And if you are already in the expanded lineup and you have 40-volt batteries from Ryobi, definitely run out and get the 10-inch cultivator. It will make a world of difference in your gardening experience. Thank you for watching this video, and again, if you like this content, please let us know by liking the video, sharing it to other gardeners you know, and subscribing to the channel. By subscribing to this channel, you're not just subscribing and providing me something to do. The funds that we will be receiving from this YouTube channel will be reinvested into our food security project, where we help people within the city of Kawartha Lakes start and maintain their own food gardens or backyard farms.